Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video, I am going to be talking about the positive and negative in relation to people and the way people behave and act. A lot of this is my what I would call hypothesis. I wouldn't call it a theory because I go by the scientific basis of theory, which is a theory. In order for this to be a theory scientifically, I would have to have definitive proof to be able to prove the hypothesis that I have. I don't, because there are some ways where my hypothesis appears to fail, but I'll let you decide as to whether or not what I am proposing can go beyond the realm of hypothesis to that of a theory, something that can be demonstrably proven. And that relates to positive and negative people. I'm sure we have all encountered people that when we first meet them, we get a negative feeling or negative vibe about the person. A lot of times this will put us on guard regarding the person. Now, sometimes this initial feeling is later proven to be mistaken, maybe based on our own attitude at the time, but a lot of times it is proven to be accurate because there are people that do radiate negativity as well as people that radiate positivity, being positive or positivity. Personally, what I have found in my life is I'm much more comfortable and enjoy being around people that are positive as opposed to people that are negative. One of the things I have also found, and this seems to be holding true more times than not, is being positive will draw to you others that are positive, while being negative will either draw negative people to you or will draw out of people a negative attitude. In a sense, you give what you get, which also correlates to a lot of ways of how I live my life. I give as I get. That if somebody is negative to me, I don't feel the desire or inclination to be overly positive to them. By the same token, somebody that is negative, I will actively look to making things to where the person is no longer around me or in my world. The thing is, beyond trying to get to where I'm not around somebody that is negative, my focus primarily, I won't say all the time because nobody can be positive all of the time. I don't buy into the power of positive thinking because the problem with that is you have to think about it. I am more talking about this in the aspect of a default setting for yourself because it seems there are those, and this may or may not be within somebody's control, I don't totally know, that being positive is your default or being negative is your default. I don't know if that is something that can be changed or exactly how that can be a default setting other than the fact that as a default I'm set to positive. I'm one, I try to be positive as much as possible. With my ex, I had used the term to try and encourage her not to be negative. I would say, don't be a poopy butt. or don't be negative. The use of the term poopy butt was just my way of trying to be jovial about it. But what it really comes down to is saying don't be negative. Or another way of putting it is don't be a sourpuss. But there are people that do appear to have as their default setting of poopy butt or sourpuss, that is almost who they are by default. And I don't know if this can change or if it is just a characteristic of people, either because of genetics or because of past experiences or childhood experiences, that has become a default for them. I'm I'm not 100% on that aspect of it. I'm definitely open to input from anybody as far as what your thoughts are regarding someone being positive or negative as a default setting. Another thing I had come across when I was looking up the aspects of positive versus negative was this chart here of an emotional guidance scale. And for the most part, I don't have a problem with it. But there is one thing that when I was looking over this, that it caught my attention, and I want to draw it out or point it out because I do feel that there is a flaw in the chart as it is. That being number 4 on the upward spiral. Positive expectation, belief. I do not feel that belief in itself is a positive thing, because a person can believe any number of things. And those beliefs are not necessarily positive. Like a racist can believe in their racist ideas or their racist ideology. It doesn't make that belief something that is positive, even if they would have a positive expectation based on that belief. The belief itself is negative. Not all beliefs are positive. So in that's one aspect that I have a problem with this diagram. But again, this was something that was determined by somebody else, and for the most part I don't disagree with it. But I do feel that more people seem to spend their lives or their time in areas that would be the downward spiral. So in that regard, it would seem that if your default is in one of the aspects that is a downward spiral, I would look at, are you living a positive or negative life? And if you're noticing within yourself and within your, if you want to use the term default settings, that it's in the negative basis, then I would say that there is definitely work that has to be done on yourself. Then there is these two, which it bugs me that the top of this is God consciousness, because there is no basis for the idea of a God. There's no reason to believe one exists. I would be open to any evidence of such. But other than that aspect, I don't really have much of a problem with this, except for the aspect of spiritual reality. I would just rather use the term reality, because the term spiritual, I would question, what the hell is that? It gets back to that word spirit, which, if you're going to talk about something that is not even tangible, that we can't prove exists, then it's a pipe dream or a puff of smoke in a grassy knoll. It's not a matter of something that can be tangibly examined and so forth. But I do think it's interesting to note on that it has ego and things are done to me, which it does seem that there are people that seem to live their life with the mindset of things are done to them. And the linear mindset of things are done by me, which, again, a lot of people have that. But, and getting up to these others, I don't see anybody using the term of, or not too many using the idea of things are done through me, unless you would be basically like the one running a business or something where other people are doing things basically on your behalf. Then things could be done through you. But the top of that, things are done as me, that more makes me think of the idea of I am the I am type of thing from the Bible, but that would also point more to what I would think of as the God of Spinoza, that everyone is, to use the term, this God. That the God concept is not some entity or being outside of you, but rather that it is just an extension of you. Which, if that would be the case, then all of us would be basically this God thing experiencing itself in billions of different ways. And if that would be accurate, then I don't see where any one way would be better or worse than another. I don't see how anyone could say that one idea is better than another. It would just be that it's different. It would be a different way that whatever you want to call God would be perceiving itself. But my primary interest and my big interest with this is with the aspect of people that are either positive or negative. Because one of the things that I've thought about is, and this is maybe another area where there are areas where it doesn't work. I'm open to hearing your input on all of this. That being the aspect of somebody ending up getting a disease, because it would seem that not saying that all disease is necessarily a punishment. I don't want to go to that route. But rather, what if the idea of what we do, be it positive or negative, if we're putting out more negative energy than we are positive, could we be drawing to us more negative things from life or from the universe, or however you want to term it? That you're drawing to you negative vibration, negative energy, whatever, but that negativity leads to either the creation of cancer cells, because we all have cancer cells. It's just whether or not they mutate to become cancerous. Or maybe it's better said, instead of saying we all have cancer cells, we all have cells that have the potential of becoming cancer, whether or not they mutate in a certain way. And what if the aspect of our focus, our behavior, potentially feeding into or deflecting the idea of whether or not something like that is going to happen. But by the same token, could there also be the aspect of negativity is drawn to you if you are around someone that is negative? Be it that either not necessarily that you're negative, but your partner, your wife, your husband, wife, partner, whatever, is a negative person and radiating negative energy and creating a negative atmosphere in your home. Could they, by virtue of the, use the term, energy that they're sending out, that they're drawing to them the negative aspect or a negative response, and because you are around them, you become subject to that negativity just like them? What made me think of this was, well, I've watched a bunch of different programs called A Haunting, and while I'm skeptical of the paranormal in that regard, it does appear from watching a number of those programs that somewhere that is quote unquote haunted is not dependent upon whether or not a particular person is positive or negative, but rather that there have been negative things that have happened in that either house or area that end up causing that negative energy to be there. I don't buy into the idea of ghosts or demons or anything of that nature. I look more in the aspect of positive and negative. And something that is looking to harm you is definitely negative, because its intent is something that is not uplifting. That would go back to more of the emotional guidance scale, something based in anger or revenge or whatnot, or even fear, which on the fear aspect, I would want to point out religions like Christianity, Islam. They're based on fear, especially Christianity, because it's a fear mindset that drives that religion. It is not any aspect of love or compassion, because the entire root of it, the John 3:16, is based on thought crime as well as what I would call conditional love, that you have to meet the requirements of XYZ in order for the God to love you. That the love is not unconditional, but there is a very big condition that is put upon it, i.e. that you accept this Jesus bullshit. That's not unconditional, that's conditional. And I would also point out with fear that fear is false evidence that appears real. And I would contend that is the case with all religions. What they would try to point to as evidence, when you actually look at it, it would be false evidence. It would not be anything tangible that you could actually examine. But I'm curious whether or not, or what you think of, if somebody is around someone that is negative, could the fact that you're around them be part of the reason why you're also experiencing the negative situations in life, not because of you per se, but because of the energy and so forth that they're putting out? Because somebody that is negative and is consumed by their own negativity would be unaffected by your being positive. That somebody that is negative their negative vibe or negative energy can pull you down, but your being positive will either have no effect on them or only serve to make them even more negative. If they are intent on being negative, the idea or feeling of someone being positive could serve to irritate or make their anger even more. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this, because it does seem that there is some aspect of positive and negative energy that does correlate to life, and I would be curious if there is a correlation, especially if there is anything after we die. Could the mental focus and how somebody lives their life being like the default positive or negative, could that be an indication not of a heaven or hell as in something that is imposed by someone else or by a religion, but rather that it is something imposed by us, something that is self-imposed, that somebody that is negative is going to, just the way they draw to themselves negative situations in life, if there is an afterlife, could they also draw to themselves that negative afterlife? And if that is the case, your religious beliefs don't mean shit. Because I've encountered positive religious people and negative religious people. So that aspect, the religion is inconsequential. It's more of the person. And if that is the case, then it's not religious belief that matters, it's who you are and how you are. Your own personal behavior and, if you want to say, ethics or personality that is at play, not what you profess to believe, which would also mean that there would be no Pascal's wager, because when it comes to how you live your life as a default, you can't fake that. Because you may be able to put on a face and so forth when you're at a job or for a period of time during the day, but as an overall, you're going to be who you are. And no amount of wanting to try and play to some contrived religious idea of you have to claim to believe X or else, if you don't, it's going to end up showing in how you live your life. That is where I think a lot of people that claim to believe in God really show that they don't. Because, especially like with this aspect of ghosts and the paranormal, one of the things I had noted on that program was people would say they would go to someone in their church and would be encountering skepticism from their clergy regarding the aspect of ghosts, that one had said about the person told them that while they believe we're spiritual beings, there's no such thing as ghosts, which I thought was a bit of a contradiction. That if you believe that we are some spiritual, whatever that is, beings, how then can you say that this idea of ghosts, which would essentially be nothing but what would be termed a spiritual being, that they don't exist? It would seem to me that somebody that is saying that is showing even though they mouth the bullshit of the religion, in their heart, they really don't believe it. So in that regard, whether they're a pastor or a priest or whatnot, be it with the Catholic Church or with a version of Christianity, that the truth of the matter would be the person is no more believing in this shit than I am. And I'm just being honest and saying I'm an atheist. Whereas somebody can be trying to play to a religion and playing to a God type of thing, this divine dictator, out of fear of what it will do to them if they don't. And I would point out the aspect of fear, if you look at that, it is on the negative downward spiral. So, to operate from a mindset of fear, it doesn't seem to be where that is beneficial to anybody. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and if you feel that my hypothesis should be more than that. If so, please give me your reasons as to why. Because the big thing that keeps me from using the term of theory is I can't definitively prove what I'm saying is absolutely the case. And I know there may be no way of absolutely proving, but even showing in a more times than not, I don't have that kind of evidence in front of me, but I would definitely be open to seeing any evidence for or against what I'm saying. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments. I also will have in the description bar below a link to my website, theoccultthinktank.com, as well as to different merch items that I have made that you can get. And I'll be doing a video in the near future of me with one of the shirts on that I had made. But the links to that, to my Teespring and Redbubble, will be also in the description bar below. Talk to you later, people.